we've got a boatload of good demonstrations on. I think there's well over 200 demos, within the web page there. I was browsing through things earlier, and I didn't really see a whole lot of things where we have like two-sided bases and things like that. Earlier, just a little bit ago, we saw a smaller vase, and the gentleman was putting a test tube in it. And what I made was a small vase, and this one is actually hollow on the inside. I know it's kind of hard to see in there, but it's hollow on the inside. And the concept of that was to make a double turned vase, basically. Okay, and I got the idea when I first started learning how to turn by myself. My wife said, "Hey, dummy, why don't you read a book?" So she went out and she got me this book, Weekend Wood Turning Projects. And inside the book itself, about page 123, it has a two-part vase. Obviously, mine doesn't look anything as good as that. I've been out of the shop for a while, so things are not quite, quite going in my favor. I've been out of the shop for about 6 months. So, but I turned this last night, and I spent a lot of money this past year buying a bunch of high-speed tools. I got the Trent Vase friggin' hollowing system. I've got the elbow tool here up on the workbench, and I'll show you guys some of that stuff. But to make this, I was trying to think of a project that we can all do with basic tools. So, that's really what the concept of this was. So, some of the basic tools, way back in the day when I first started learning how to turn wood, Eddie Castleman talked about hollowing on the cheek. And I put a link to that in the chat earlier. And it's where you just make tools and take a little piece of high-speed steel from a set from like Harbor Freight, or some of the other, you can buy all these little bits, right? It's like a 6-pack of different bits. And in fact, that's what my thin parting tool is made out of. And then, then of course you had carbide cutters where you could, make your own carbide cutter. And of course, being the cheap guy, I didn't buy it from Eddie, unfortunately. I bought it from some other place. And then later on, the wife blessed me with a, swan neck hollower from Rockler. And I'll tell you what, honestly, I haven't used this damn thing a whole lot. Pardon the French there. What I've mostly hollowed with is that. That's that ball end tool that Matt Harbor showed us how to make it a long time ago. And of course, I put a link for Dean Grimes' video on how he made his own custom hollowing tool. So that's what I'm going to be hollowing with tonight to make this vase. And I'll walk you guys step by step through the process on how I did it. The finish on here is nothing more than Howard's feed and wax. That's all it is. So it's got a little sanding sealer on it, and then a little Howard's feed and wax on there. So give me about a minute to clean some things off. I'll switch cameras around, and then we'll get started. If there's
all right, sounds good, Tim.
Okay.
At the moment, there's no questions, but if there's a question in the group right now, speak now, forever hold your peace. All right, camera looks good.
All right.
Your microphone's fading in and out, though, Tim.
Yeah, well, probably because I'm wandering around, not talking.
Oh, okay, right on it. That explains it.
Oh, hang on 1 second. Let me throw some stuff, put some stuff away, because I pulled out a bunch of stuff that doesn't belong out. I'm working in a really limited workshop, a little 1-car garage, and I've got 4-car garage worth of tools in here. 1 second. My apologies, just gotta make some room for stuff.
It
No,
sounds
you're
a
all
lot
good.
like my shop.
Tools I'm gonna need. And all right. So before I even put the old Trent air shield on, Dana and I checked that earlier today. It works real well. So anybody that has a Trent air shield that wants to do a demo with one of these little level mics, it works real well. So
Yep.
okay, so what I've got is I've got the Jim Duxbury marking gauge here, and all I did was literally found center on my board on my piece of timber here on both sides. Then I marked it, and then I put it on the lathe, and I turned tenon on it on both ends. And you know, just because of the amount of time that this may take me, I went ahead and did up the tenon earlier. So all I did was I turned it around, I put a tenon on both ends. And so I have a tenon on this end and I have a tenon in the chuck. Before I do that, though, wanted to explain one thing. Taking the chuck on and off all the time is a bit of a pain in the rump. If you take your spur center, readjust my light here. Take your spur center, you can actually put your spur center in the chuck, that Morse tube taper in the chuck, and it protrudes just enough and it will hold it. And it'll spin true. And that'll save you a little bit of time for your production. So that's what I did when setting this thing up. The other thing that I like doing when I'm using the spur drive is I use that not the cone center, but the regular live center, the one that probably came with your lathe way back in the day. All right, so put this back in the chuck here. Come on, fingers work. There we go. And before I tighten up the chuck 100%, we're going to bring up the center tailstock support just to make sure everything's centered the way it was. I'm going to go ahead and crank it down. All right, so that starts out that portion. 1 second. Next thing I do, after I've put the tenon on both ends, I want to go ahead and measure the block of wood and figure out how big it is. So the area that I'm looking to turn is going to be 6 inches. So going with that, you know, that nice little, I don't have one of those calipers that breaks off that golden mean and everything. So I took my 6 inches and I said, okay, well, what's 2/3 of 6 is 4. So I marked the ends. There's one end. There's my other end. And then I measured over 4 inches. And that's where my mark is for that 2/3 for the top of the vase. So that's actually where I'm going to split it. And I'm going to make 2 separate pieces, hollow those 2 separate pieces out and put it back together. So the next thing I have to do is I've got to turn it down. Get that desired shape that I want, whatever that shape may be. Move some stuff off the lathe bed here so it doesn't fall on the floor. All right, so little face shield on. And Dane, are we still good? I don't have a bunch of feedback from the air shield.
You sound good. You sound good. You sound great. There's no feedback.
All right, thank you. All right, so the
You
next
bet.
thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out the shape I want. Eddie came up with a great idea earlier about draw out your stuff. Don't just have a picture in your head, but actually draw out the shape you want. Unfortunately, I didn't do that. So the shape I'm looking for is gonna be probably something like, I want to have a little bit of a valley here, probably a lot steeper. And then I want to kind of bring the shape down and then have some type of a foot on it. Kind of like that shape that I showed you earlier. So in my head, that's what I'm turning. We'll see if it works out that way. Turning speed right around about 1200. Using a bow gouge, and all I'm doing is just taking out a little bit of material here. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I'm getting a little bit of vibration on this, so I want to double check my chuck to make sure it's tight. And it could be that I just don't have enough pressure on my tailstock. That's where the vibration's coming from. Pick up that cut again. That's about right. Now on this is going to be my foot, so I want to come in just a little bit. Probably right about there.
Looking good, Tim.
All right, thank you. And back this off just a little bit. How's your camera view, Dane?
Oh, it's perfect.
Thank you. I'm gonna do it a little bit more. I'm gonna refine that pitch this time. All right, so kind of almost have our basic shape of the vase. It's not too terrible. I still got a little bit of a high spot here. I want to keep it that way for right now. This is just kind of just roughing it out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and part this off. Now I'm going to separate the two halves, and then we'll move over to the next step. So what I have, I bought a bunch of that little cheap $5 steel packet from Harbor Freight way back in the day, and I made this thin parting tool when I first started doing wood turning. Okay, and this one is high-speed steel, 1/16 by half by 4.5 inches long. So it has about a 15-degree bevel cutting this way and cutting that way. So most of the scarf is going to come off and give me a nice clean cut. So when I do this, I'm going to start presenting the tool right on the line here, and I'm going to just kind of push the tool all the way in, not all the way through. I probably won't cut it all the way through. I'll probably stop, and then I'll pull out the saw and I'll separate the two halves. Okay.
Sounds good.
Speed down a little bit. It's getting jerky. Don't want it to be jerky. All right, before I screw up and
Okay.
completely part this thing off, which I was getting ready to do, I need to make a line. And the line basically going across, just a witness mark is all it is. So I like to do one witness mark there, and you probably see that line better now.
Yes.
The
Yep. You
reflection.
can see it.
And then I'm going to do two witness marks down here. And the purpose of that is just so I can line things up a little bit and get a better grain match. You don't have to do it that way. It's just the way I do things. All right, so we are
Close.
close.
Hacksaw time.
Pull out a different light out of my pocket here. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and stop there and I'll just use the saw. So the saw I got is just this little, it's a Irwin, I think I got that thing at, little flexible saw. I think I got it at Lowe's. There we go. All right, so not too bad of a cut. That'll be easy enough to clean up, and every time I use this saw, just so I don't gouge myself, I put the original guard back on it. Hang it up, that way I don't ever get cut by it. Lesson learned, I got cut by it before. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and face this little jagged part right here. I'm gonna face that off, make it even with the rest of, or as close to even with the rest of it. Not necessary, however, it's just, again, the way I like to do things. Got a spindle gouge real quick. Got the pressure going towards the chuck, so I'm not potentially flipping the piece out. I don't need to make it perfectly level or anything. In fact, that center point there, I want to get rid of that. I use my skew for that. And I'm just gonna give myself a registration mark there for my drill bit. So I got a couple options. What I want to do is to join this together. I'm going to do kind of like what JJ did with the box. In the book, it tells you to cut a tenon and then put a mortise on the other piece and join it. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do, except I'm going to put the tenon on this piece and put the mortise on the other piece. I'm going to take my Vadan and I'm just going to go down just a little bit. When I do this, I want about 3/8 inch wall thickness on the whole thing. That's just my target. 1 second, let me sharpen my pencil real quick. So I'm going to go in about, about that deep. Maybe. Let's not go that deep. I'll do it by eye and then we'll figure it out from there. All right, so taking my Vadan, make sure I'm a little above center. Again, before I start anything, I'm putting pressure on the outside. I want to double check my chuck. Just always double check, make sure it's not coming loose. Nothing vibrated. One second. I don't like the way the banjo is sitting. Gonna hit my tool. All right. Try this again. So I don't want it super thick. I'm probably only gonna go about maybe 1/8 of an inch. And I'm gonna raise the handle of my tool until I get to that line. I'm pretty close to that line. It looks pretty good to me. I'll go maybe just a little bit more. I like the Vadan because it gives you a nice square shoulder. As long as you don't try to taper the edge and the corners and everything. So going with the Vadan real quick, for those that aren't familiar with this tool. has one tapered edge, one flat edge, and to sharpen it, go along the taper. And then make sure you go on the side, parallel with the side. Same thing with the other side. And you can also do that on the back. That'll give you that nice, super sharp cutting edge, and everything remains square. So, all right. So right now I have my tenon right there. It's a small tenon, and it's gonna hold on to that top cup when I cut this. Get that aside. Yeah. So the next thing I have is I have a 3/4 inch drill into a Jacob's chuck right now. Okay. I'm going to take and I'm going to measure how deep I want this vase to be. Now you can mark your drill bit, or you could add a piece of tape to it, however you want to do it. I like to go ahead and mark my drill bit just so I have a reference. It'll wipe off. It's just needs some alcohol to wipe it off. Not a big deal. My banjo out of the way, make sure that my Jacob's chuck is locked in. Find my center point. Lock down my tailstock, and I'm going to turn about 350, 400, somewhere around there. I'm just going to drill in nice and slow. I got one hand on the Jacob's chuck. Back it off. Clean out the scarf. My air compressor is not in the shop right now. I'm building a chicken coop, so 3/4 of my tools are not where they belong. Start hearing that squeal, means we're getting hot and we're getting tight. So clean out the scarf. And there we go. We're at depth right now. All right. So like Matt Harvard talked to us about this ball end mill tool. And I'll tell you, when I first joined the group way back when, I think this thing Matt had just demonstrated. I know Dean Grimes had demonstrated on his channel. And again, I put the link in for Dean's channel there in the chat earlier. Somebody wants to go back and look at the way Dean did it. We also have it on our website. So this tool is basically nothing more than 3/4 inch rod. This one's about overall.
Hold it up.
Long.
Hold it up. Hold it up closer to your tool rest. There you go.
All right. It's about 10 inches long, 3/4 inch rod. On the end, I drilled a hole. Actually, just put the rod into my lathe and then drill the hole into it. And put that 3/8 inch ball end mill. And then of course, you know, tapped it. And when I did, I screwed up, but that's all right. You know, re-drill and re-tap and you'll be okay. It's not a big deal. But this is a double ball end mill. So there's whatever you see up on top here, the same thing's on the bottom, and Matt explains that pretty good in a couple of videos. Again, you just look online on our website and you'll see it. So
Yeah, I did put our video, a link to our video in the chat at some point, right after you introduced the tool. So it's in here also.
Yeah, so I put Dean Grimes' video in the chat earlier, but we have the same type of video that Matt Harbour did on our website. So if anybody wants to know how to make the tool, it's a cheap, easy tool. And the reason I'm doing this, I want to kind of get back to the basics, because we got a lot of new folks that may not have all the tools that Dane and I and everybody else has acquired over the years. So, all right, let me show you how quick and easy this tool works. And turn speed right now, I'm right at 900, well, 1,000. I'm gonna turn till I have, about the same distance on the end here, okay? What I'm talking about, same distance. So whatever my wall thickness here, I want the same wall thickness there. So overall, that's pretty close to. Yeah, I'm sitting at 3/8 right there, which is my target. That's my target thickness that I was looking for in this particular case.
Tim, your
Again,
cutting Tim, your cutting
again, sir?
profile, you're presenting your cutter at about what, on center, just above center?
So it's just at center or just above center, and then I'm pulling it across. So what I'm actually cutting with is this lower portion right here. If you
Very
push
good.
it the other way, if you're turning in reverse, which you can do, one of Capnetti's videos was saying, hey, if you can't see what you're doing by, struggling this way, turn in the opposite direction. If you can turn in reverse, you can use this cutter in reverse and it works beautiful. I'm not going to
Right
turn in
on.
reverse because I don't have my set screw in on my chuck, but yeah, you can turn in reverse and then you can see everything that you're hollowing, and that works out really well. But so what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting. Don't pull too hard. Let the tool do the work. And what you're trying to do is mimic the profile that you have on the outside, on the inside. Now, Matt, on our website, Matt explains that this tool will work as a drill too. So if you're not careful with it, you can drill in where you don't want to be. Let's stop that for a second so you can see just, that's pretty good clean cut. I know this tool's probably due to be flipped around, but I still got another 2 inches or so I got to cut. So because I'm getting over the edge of the tool, I'm just going to move my tool rest forward a little bit and continue on. About another half inch maybe. So one of the nice things about this being made out of 3/4 inch bar, and if you have a longer handle like Matt has on his, you get more leverage and you go out over the tool rest quite a bit further. So right now we're at depth. Wall thickness, a little thick to my liking, so I'm gonna thin that out just a little bit. But we're almost ready to go on to step 2. Put down there at the bottom still. All right, so that's pretty much hollowed out. I set our tools on the lathe. Now, if you wanted to, you could sand the inside. I don't sand the inside of stuff like this because, well, really no need, you know. Nobody's gonna really stick their finger in there unless it's another wood turner. Smooth it out. If you are sanding on the inside, then I recommend you get a sanding stick. Don't put your fingers in there. You'll break your fingers off. You end up getting caught up and hung up on it. So, you know, take a stick, put your sandpaper on the stick, and then there you go. Oh, good to go.
Sounds
Any
good.
questions so far?
Nothing in
All
chat.
right. So the next part is we already have our tenon on. The other side, we're gonna go ahead and put that in loosely. Now I'm gonna switch over to cone center. I'll show you why in just a minute, but primarily is once I drill this thing out, I'm gonna need the cone center. So pretty much centered up, like my tailstock down. I'm gonna go ahead and double check to make sure it's running true, which it is. Okay. So we have a tenon on this side, so this side's gonna need a mortise. Before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and drill this thing out. So I'm gonna do the same procedure I did before. Gonna go ahead and kind of face this off a little bit. Just in the center. I'm not worried about the rest of it. The rest of it's gonna get hollowed out. I'll take my skew and I'm gonna give myself that reference point in the center. I'll switch back to my drill bit again. And on this, it really doesn't matter because I'm drilling all the way through. There's my center point, my reference. Again, speed about 350, 400. Clean off my scarf. My air compressor was here. I just used it and blow on the drill bit itself. And there we go. We're through. Now, the reason I drill a hole all the way through, not only to give me a reference point for my ball end tool, but also it punches through all the way and it gives me a reference point for the 60-degree live center. So I drilled all the way through. Now I just bring my tool rest back over. My tailstock out the way. And go at it again. I'm a little high. You drop that down. And then pull that back just a little. The reason I'm pulling it back is I've got this drop off here between the 3/8 and the 3/4 inch. There's a big drop off. You know, you don't want to get hung up on that. So that's the reason I'm pulling back. Now, I almost forgot a part here. What's the part that I almost forgot? Anybody?
I'm sorry, say again,
Mark
Tim?
your mortise.
There you go. I forgot to do the mortise, right? So we always want to double check ourselves and make sure that, hey, before we get too far ahead, and we're not. You know, I caught myself at that. So I took and I measured with my caliper, you know, roughly what my mortise is. I want it to be a little bit tighter, so I'm going to tighten that up just a little bit. And I'm going to give myself a reference point using my tool rest for my caliper to sit up there and go, okay, well, that's pretty much where my mortise is going to be. That makes sense? So you see where that drop off is. That's probably pretty close to where I'm going to cut my mortise. So do that. And find my tool, that'd be great. Be just like JJ. I'm gonna take my bedan on this. So I'm on center or just above. Now, the other option you have besides maybe the bedan might be your parting tool. Works real well too. In fact, it works better. And you can haul with any type of tool, guys. Like I said, I like the bedan because it gives me a nice flat reference. We're going to see if our mortise fits. It does not fit yet. So we'll continue on. So we'll continue on. Again, trial and error, just check for a fit. We're not quite there, almost. I bumped the camera with my shield. Were you still good on the picture, Dane?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Not, nothing like simulating turning on a boat.
All right. Now I want a nice sharp edge. There we go. Let's see if we're able to fit this time. That was what? Try number 3. Something like that. And here we're off just a little bit.
Just off by a horseshoe, right?
Yeah. Pull the pin on that horseshoe.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully I didn't go over, and I did just a smidge, but that's all right. Now you'll notice that on this lineup, the top has got a little bit of a lip over the top of the bottom there. But you'll also notice that the grain match is pretty doggone close. Okay,
Yep.
so that's all fixable. That's why we left that little extra thickness on the wall. You'll also notice that I have that center point for when I bring up the tailstock, when I glue this thing back together. So we're good to go there. All right. There's my wall thickness basically for the top. Again, I want to leave it a little thicker. I want to leave a lip. So the lip I want to leave is going to be about this. You can see how it steps down from here to the bottom of the mortise. We don't want to cut that away. We want to give a ledge for the tenon to sit up against when we glue it all together. So make sure you don't cut out that lip when you're hollowing. How we doing on time, Dane?
Oh, you're doing perfect. You're good. You got lots of time.
Remember,
No need to hurry at all.
you're trying to mirror whatever the outside shape is. That's what you're trying to mirror on the inside. I'm getting close to the inside jaw of the truck there. So I want to leave that there for some stability and support. I don't want to go too deep, so I'll catch it from the other side. All right, so let's turn the speed up on this, clear that dust out. All right, so like Matt was saying, he likes to use the Tight Bond Quick and Thick. It dries clear. It's a really good glue. If you guys ever watch any of Earl's Small Segment Shop, he's the one that turned me on to this while watching some of his videos. Literally, as he was putting the segments in on a bowl, by the time he got to the far end, put some pressure on it for a little bit, he was ready to start turning again. So it's a really good glue. I really like it for a lot of the interior stuff. I don't use it on anything that's going to go outside. If you want, you can sand this, spend your time sanding up the inside. Again, that's a little rough. I'd probably take a scraper to that. I'm not going to do it tonight, but typically I'd take a scraper to that, clean that up a little bit because that is a little bit rough. But next thing we're going to do, we're just going to apply some of this quick and thick on here. You don't have to be as quick and thick as I'm doing right here, that's for sure. A little bit goes a long way.
You're just
So
making
not
sure
only
you
do I-
got good coverage.
Yep. Not only do I want to get the pin in there, but I also want to get where the mortise is going to link and that shoulder is going to link up. Okay, we'll drop it on the floor just to see if it holds together. That's what I do in my shop.
Uh,
Off all that extra sawdust and garbage that fell in there. It'll affect your joint. All right, so I have my witness marks. I got a single mark and I have a double mark. There's my double. There's my single mark. All I'm going to do is just line up these two witness marks, bring up my tailstock, and you could use the cone center for this. I'm going to hold off on the cone center. I'm going to go back to the other center because it spreads things out, a little better weight distribution. Doesn't push a hole in the bottom of the vase. And I'm just going to make sure my marks are lined up. Any last minute double check. My lines are all lined up. Everything's good to go. And we'll just give a little tailstock support for a minute. We'll take a piece of paper towel here and rub off some of the excess. It's all going to get turned. Anyway, I'm going to smooth all that out in just a second, but just to give you an idea, let that stuff sit for a minute. I'm going to take a drink of water real quick and then we'll get back to turning.
sounds good, Tim.
Any questions while we're doing any of this?
Anybody have any questions?
What's
Comments?
that boring bit? What
It's,
is
it?
it's called a double-ended ball end mill mitt. And Matt Harbor has put a link to one a little earlier here in the chat.
Yep, 3/8 inch by 3/8 inch, 2 flute,
Right there. I just
double
posted
ended
it.
ball end mill.
I just posted
Yep.
the same link for it there.
Thanks, Dane.
You bet. I knew it was coming.
That's
You
why I'm
did.
doing it,
That's why we posted these.
right?
Well,
Yeah,
can they
one
be
of the
sharpened?
reasons
Yes, they
just,
can.
Just
I don't know how to sharpen them, but frankly, the ones that I found, I mean, the one I posted was a quick search. The ones I bought were like $6 a piece, and they give me a couple of years worth of use. And I bought 3 or 4 of them at a time, and I'm like on my second one out of the 3 I bought like 5 years ago. So they're so inexpensive that you don't really need to work on it. But if you want to, you can sharpen them just like you sharpen any other drill bit, you know.
Yep.
Alright, so now I need to refine my shape a little bit. I think my foot's got too sharp of an edge here, so I'm gonna clean that up. I'm gonna probably do a little shear scrape on this. You know, try to get that a little more leveled and just refine my shape. You can see where it's sticking out just a little bit, so we definitely want to address that. You can use a spindle gouge, you can use a bowl gouge, you can use whatever you want, carbide, however you want to turn. This is a spindle, so I could be using a spindle gouge, but I really like my 5/8 inch bowl gouge. So again, that's just one of those current preferences. I haven't played with my detail gouge I picked up at Squat yet, so I'm gonna see if I can get. And I'm getting mine that I don't want to be getting. Yeah, I need more practice with this one for sure. It's not mine. It's not mine either. All right. So you got a couple options here. You could use a scraper, you could use a skew. I'm gonna go ahead and use a skew on this. It's back just a hair, so I have some room to work. And you'll notice that my skew has kind of a rounded edge. Oh, by the way, it's a cheap Harbor Freight skew.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with them. They do not hold an edge for a very long time, but back on up, they work just fine. Eventually, some of these may go away, but that's what I got. Work with what you can afford. And my profile. Nice little whiskey cuts off there. So even that 30-old Harbor Freight steel will do it for you. All right. So what's the one thing that we notice right now? Besides, I get a little tear out and need to refine that a little bit more. But what's the one thing that you can notice? Right here, I have that seam, right?
Yep.
So we have to make a decision what we want to do with that seam. Do we want to embellish it, use it, or maybe put something in it? We could do a couple different things. We could wire burn in
embellish it.
there, add another line, etch it. You could do all kinds of different things. But right now,
Turn it into a bead.
say again,
Turn it into a bead.
turn it into a bead. Yeah, we could do that. So we're about 1,200 or so.
Nice job, Tim.
Up here where I screwed up with the Q and I made that little line. You give that a little detail also. That would have a smaller cube. In this up. Like I say, I've been out of the shop for a while, so. You got a bead right there in the center. The other
Yeah,
thing,
you nailed it.
can't really see it, so the other thing you can do is you can wire burn it. Enhance it a little bit. So all I did was took a piece of guitar string, 2 little dowel pins that I made. And all my little shavings are out of the way, so I'm not catching stuff on fire in the shop here. Now I just enhanced it.
There you go.
Ooh, ah.
Ooh and all, right? Smells good in here. Smells like walnut and stuff. All right, so the next thing I have to do, obviously, is sand this, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut the top. So go ahead and do a quick sand on it. Yes, I should have my dust collector on, but I've got my sand air shield still on, so I'm not worried about the dust right now. And I have an air filtration system in the shop right now. So. Speaking of the trend, I picked that up at SWAT. There was a guy that was, Billy and I were talking to. They were having an estate sale for one of the wood turners that was in a group. And I ended up picking up this thing for $125 with extra filters and whatnot. All right, not gonna spend all night sanding it. Everybody knows how to sand. But we'll give it a little. Once over there with some 220 and maybe some 300 or so. Whole point of all this was just to show you how to make a vase out of a 2-part vase. Not really about my finishing techniques and things.
Yeah, it's a great demo on how to make a little bud vase and have it all hollowed out instead of just drilled up. That's a great demo so far.
Right. So I am just gonna re-enhance that line because sanding it, I kind of knocked it down a little bit. I just want to re-enhance that burn mark, just to emphasize a little better. All right. So that part's done. The next thing we're gonna do, we're just gonna flip it around. Oh, my glue didn't set. Sucks to be me. Everything's still lined up and all still looks fairly reasonable. There's some stuff marking now. All right, well, we're gonna drink some water for a minute, Dan, while that glue tries to set up.
Okay.
Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Comments? Boy, you're a hard crowd tonight.
Boy, I tell you what. Either I'm a good instructor or they just falling asleep on me.
You're a very good instructor.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of details. It looks good.
So now I'm switching over to the cone center. I know the thing's not 100% glued and dried, but for time's sake, I'm gonna go ahead and switch over my cone center. Put some pressure on that from the tailstock, and now remember, I've got my foot down here. I need to go ahead and figure out where I'm parting it off and finish up the bottom. So I flip the vase over. I wish I knew where the heck that line came from. But it's there. Still waiting on the glue. All right. So I got my thin parting tool again. It has a 15-degree bevel going back this way and back this way. Kind of want to read, I kind of wanted to find the bottom of my vase. Make sure I'm not too big. I'm not gonna part this thing off. Just kind of defining the bottom. And because now that I've defined that bottom, that's a sharp edge. So I need to kind of do a little safety cut on it. Make sure that I don't have any sharp edge that's gonna hurt anybody, especially myself, because I'm the idiot turning. So I'm just gonna kind of walk that edge around. So right now I have a more of a smooth edge there. The next thing I'm gonna do is figure out on my top. So I want my top right here. I want it to be kind of beveled in. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my top. And turn this down so it doesn't come flying off and hit me in the face. Not that that's ever happened.
Set.
Now, how big of a hole did I put in there? Do you remember? 3/4 inch, right?
3/4,
So
wasn't
I
it?
should be getting, yeah, I should be getting close to the part to part it off right about there. I'm gonna
Yeah,
slow speed down again.
Once you start getting close, you'll feel it being grabby on your parting tool.
Yep. Starting to get grabby. And we're right there. So for safety's sake, so I don't flip this thing apart, I'm just gonna go ahead and use my old saw again. And nose coming out just in case.
I just heard those teeth hit your tool rest.
Yeah,
If you had a cast iron tool rest, there'd be a nick in it, but you got that solid bar on there, so no worries.
yeah, I put a solid bar after it's flat.
Yep. Yeah, it
There we
makes a
go.
difference, doesn't it?
All right. Teeth are all good on the saw, nobody's been out or. Good there. All right. So now all I gotta do is just redefine this top. And we're pretty much done. So, quick question for everybody. How do I seal the inside? What's a good option if I want to put water in it?
Pose
You
that
said you
question
don't
again?
want to, you don't want to seal the inside?
Yeah, how would you seal the inside if you're selling this to a customer?
Aluminite fast cure epoxy.
There you go.
Yep, there you go.
Just some quick fast cure epoxy, right?
Yep.
You can take it, mix it 1-to-1, throw it in the microwave for a little bit, just a little bit. Turn, pour it into the vase. You could use a brush. There's a number of different ways, but if you're doing something, and I did this on the urn that I made for my friend. Literally, I use that epoxy on the inside of the urn, not only to stabilize the wood, but it also ensured that nothing was going to come out, when he's sitting up on the shelf there. So just an idea. All right, hopefully my glue is set up enough that I can do this without it coming apart on me. Light cut. And no. Well, there we go. Gotta find it now.
Yeah,
Ah.
your glue, that quick and fix already set up on you, Tim.
Yeah,
Just
it's
put
set
a
up
little,
quick on it.
just put a little dab on it and then rub it back and forth a couple times for a friction fit and
Yep.
it'll set up automatically for you. 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, that's all you need.
Like I said, I made this southern one last night. Absolutely no problem. Now we're gonna play let's try to match the green. Now, if I wasn't doing this for a demo, I'd probably let that sit up for, 15 minutes or so. But it is what it is.
No, that's all good, Tim.
Pressure on that. For a couple minutes. 100 or so. All right, so any questions or comments? No,
Nothing in chat, Tim.
that's a shame.
No, you did a good job of explaining all your steps and your processes there.
But all right.
Hey, Tim, wrap a little tape around that before you start turning it again. It'll give it a little
Yeah,
support.
I'm getting ready to grab a roll of tape. That was my next move. There it is. Say building this doggone chicken coop. 3/4 of my stuff is not where it's supposed to be in the shop. When the
Good
wife
tip,
says,
Scott. Thank you.
I want this, you better say yes, ma'am. How high and how many? All right. Again, sorry if this is taking a little longer, but I'll talk about the process and how I got to where I got.
No, this is a great demo of showing how to hollow something without having all, like you said, having the toys to be able to hollow.
So, the whole point of this demo this way will show you don't need all that expensive Trent Bosch gear and all the, Tim Yoder elbow tool and, all that other stuff to do a hollow form. You do a hollow form, like this. How long did it take me? Well, because I was talking more than anything else. Didn't take very long.
No,
You probably knock it out in about 20 minutes or so to get set up. If you're doing multiple of it, work in stages and have everything all set. All your blanks rounded, then all you gotta do is just knock it out, one-step process. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and have this little critter off. So there we go. Sits nice and level. It has a nice tapered edge to it. Of course, I got to sand that nub off, and finish it, but there you go. And you have a nice wide opening. If you put your epoxy down up in there, the thing can be watertight, and then you can have any type of wet flower or fresh flowers in there. So just something just a little bit different instead of having the test tube. And nothing wrong with the test tube. I've got a bunch of them sitting here in the shop. Reason it wasn't a bigger piece of wood, I went out to my wood pile and they were all cracked. Because silly me, I forgot to put doggone anchor seal on the end of them after I cut them because I ended up having to go train the guard. And by the time I got back, all that fresh cut wood was all split. So I can make bowls out of it, but I can't make vases and stuff. So there you go. Any questions, gripes, techniques, things you want to see better?
I think it's a great process. Did a fantastic
nothing
job.
in the chat.
Nice job, Tim.
All right, guys.
Did a good job. Way to work through
My
up there
pleasure.
at the end.
Thank you,
We'll
Tim.
do it. We'll do it again sometime when I can get some different wood and stuff.
Well done.
So I do have a question, Tim. With regards to sealing the inside, would it be beneficial to seal it individually, for each half, to go ahead and make up your epoxy and put a nice thin coat on it right before you glue it up, and then while you're finishing profile on the outside, it's spinning and getting
I
soaked
would
in?
say probably no. I would say no
No?
on that, Dane. The reason that I say that is once you get the outside, where you want it and everything, your epoxy coating to be seamless so it wouldn't leak. You want to do that all at one time. That's just my opinion. I mean, you come up with your own way of doing it, but
Yeah, sure.
that was my opinion.
PA glue would be waterproof, wouldn't it?
Yeah, sure would.
Right. So, any other questions?
Yeah, where'd you get that blue gilding?
So the which?
The blue gilding that you had around it.
Okay, there's our comedian. Way to go, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody put him back on mute.
Yeah, really.
That stuff.
Amazon.
But one
Great demo,
option you
Tim.
could do here, you could do a band, and I put a link to a guy who also has a really great video that he did for his club about 2 years ago. His name is Chris Lawrence, and it's blacklabelwoodworks.com. That's in the chat there. He actually put the turquoise inlay in that. So he cut a band in there and did turquoise inlay with CA glue and the crushed turquoise. So there's a lot of different ways you can embellish that, hide that scene. But there you go. That's all I got.
Great demo, Tim.
Right on. Well, once again, thank you very much, Tim.
Awesome job.
Tim, that was a very enjoyable evening. I'll tell you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I mean,
Appreciate it.
really enjoyable. Man, I was front and center.
Well, like I said, I want to do something a
Thank
little bit different that we haven't talked about in a long time. Because not everybody, in our group has all the high expensive stuff. So let me switch cameras here. Looking at my hand for some reason. But yeah, that was the purpose of it. And yeah,
That was
so
Great
very
demo.
enjoyable.
thank you.
That was
Appreciate it.
very enjoyable.
Like it says, I drink coffee and I make things or build things. All right, that's all I got, Dave.
All
How do
right,
you-
thank you, sir.
What did
Nice
you use?
stuff.
So much.
Before we take off here, this is a question for Jeff Walters, who said to use the Alumilite. Was it Fast Cure? Because Alumilite makes a couple of quick epoxies. Which
Yeah,
one
I
was
prob-
it, Jeff?
I probably didn't get the name right. It's Alumilite. It's fast.
Luminite's a name brand.
Yeah. And it's like it's fast set or quick set.
Because they've got a quick coat. Is that it?
Yeah, that could be it.
Okay.
It's been a couple years since I worked with it myself.
Yeah,
But that's what I used it for.
Any quick set, regardless of what the name brand is, will work for those purposes.
All right. So this is a Alumilite quick coat epoxy, and the thing says it cures in as little as 4 hours at 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can reapply a coat at 1.5 to 2 hours.
Yeah, that's the stuff. I'm looking at it now myself.
Okay. All right. Amazing quick coat is the epoxy. Okay.
Yeah.
There's another type right here.
And actually, Walmart has
So
it at a
this,
better price than Alumilite does.
Yeah, I'm not
Well.
surprised.
Darn.
Podcast I picked up at Hobby Lobby for $24.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Made
There
it
it is.
clear. Yep.
Is it 50? Is it 50-50?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is a
plus
50/50.
Okay.
So quick and easy. All right, I'm out of here.
Thank you, Tim.
Yep. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, Tim.